The Commanders win in Week 5 on the road in Jaden Daniels' hometown in L.A. here versus the Los Angeles Chargers in convincing fashion. 3-score difference here between the Commanders and Chargers. Final score 27-10 in what was a big-time bounce-back victory for the Burgundy and Gold. Today on the Commanders Report, Week 5 post-game show, I'm going to be breaking down everything that went right in this ball game, talk about some of the things that need to be improved with the Washington Commanders as well, give out some game balls, share my takeaways as we look forward to Monday Night Football next week versus the Chicago Bears. If you guys don't want to miss a post-game show for your Washington Commanders all season long, this is where you get your post-game reaction shows here on YouTube. We have the largest Commanders fan base anywhere on YouTube with over 45,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already and join us every single week for our post-game reaction shows. Okay, so let's break it down. 27-10, the Commanders definitely didn't start off great. The first quarter, it looked more of the same. Chargers scored all 10 of their points in the first quarter. The Commanders were down by 2 scores early, and it just didn't look great. A 3-and-out on the first drive of the game. It just wasn't really working. And then once you get to the second quarter, the Commanders just couldn't be stopped. They were having a bunch of different scoring drives. The only drive, I believe, after their second drive today that didn't end in a score for the Commanders was when Bill Croskey-Merritt did have a fumble. But, man, star of the show today, Bill Croskey-Merritt, 111 yards rushing on just 14 carries. That efficiency is unbelievable. 2 touchdowns on the ground. He added more to that as a receiver, a true coming-out party for Bill. Then Jaden Daniels, is great to see him back out there. I don't think the stat line really shows how well he played, all right? Like, he made some big-time throws, dug him out of some tough situations on 2nd and long and 3rd and long, made some really nice plays with his legs and his arm outside of structure. Jaden Daniels looked like Jaden Daniels today. And the Deebo Samuel, 8 catches for 96 yards and a tud with Terry McLaurin out of the lineup. Getting Deebo involved was a big part of the game plan this week, and he played phenomenal. Then on the other side of the ball, Justin Herbert. I thought Justin actually played a really good game. It's just, the turnovers that weren't really his fault. And then some of the penalties were really just working against the Chargers in this game. But for the most part, looked pretty darn good. Omarion Hampton was looking okay before his injury. And, just some unfortunate circumstances for Herbert and the Chargers. They were missing a lot of offensive line pieces. They lost Omarion Hampton later in the game, and they had some bad breaks down the stretch, that's to say the least. But now let's talk about some game balls here. Let's give out some game balls. Jaden Daniels, first time ever playing as an NFL quarterback in L.A. where he grew up. And he balled out, man. He really did play well. Coming back off that injury, it did take him a little bit to get settled in. He did have some procedural type of issues, getting guys lined up, suffered a delay a game or two there, had to waste a timeout in the second half. It wasn't perfect from Jaden Daniels today, but I thought, he had a beautiful downfield shot to Luke McCaffrey for 50 yards at the end of the half. That was as good of a deep ball as I've ever seen him throw. He was delivering dots on the run as well. He was keeping his eyes down the field when he was running. His pocket presence, as usual, was phenomenal, finding those open running lanes to use his legs. Like, he was Jaden Daniels today, all right? The first 2 weeks that we saw him, I don't know if he was back to the full swing of things. Today, coming off that injury, this looked like Jaden Daniels. So that was incredibly good news if you're a Washington Commanders fan. 231 yards passing. He ended up getting a touchdown at the very end, had a quarterback rating of exactly 100. So fantastic stuff from Jaden. Really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in the weeks to come. But then Bill Croskey-Merritt, man, he was the star of the show. All right, he had a coming out party today, and outside of a fumble that at the time looked like it was going to be a big play to start the fourth quarter. Of course, the Commanders end up getting a stop on that drive and getting a turnover themselves at the goal line, kind of negating that. But, man, the efficiency was just off the charts for this young man. This guy was a 7th-round pick, and kudos to the offensive line that blocked their ass off for him. Like, we talked about it this week. This Commanders run game is the best part about this team, and Bill Croskey-Merritt is the best thing about this Commanders run game. All right, like his ability to identify open lanes, his explosiveness to take advantage. When the Chargers couldn't secure the edge today, he was able to get out there and use his speed to pick up those 2 touchdowns that he had. And then he also caught the ball out of the backfield. So he's a do-it-all number 1 running back, and I would be kind of shocked if this team doesn't give him even a larger workload moving forward. All right, I thought Jerry McNichols, Chris Rodriguez Jr., they had another good game today as well. But, like, Bill Croskey-Merritt is him, guys. He is maybe, outside of Jaden Daniels, the most impactful offensive player on this Commanders team this year. And they need to get him the ball more often moving forward, in my opinion. Then Dorrance Armstrong had another fantastic game today, collected another 2 sacks. He's very disruptive. And, with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt dealing with injuries, even Trey Pipkins, their backup right tackle, was dealing with some injury stuff today. Dorrance Armstrong just came in and had another phenomenal performance, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks. He was all over the place, and he has just been an absolute stud to start this season. And Dante Fowler last year was the double-digit sack guy for the Commanders on the edge. I think Dorrance Armstrong, who wasn't nearly as disruptive last year as he was this year, is going to be able to make up for that production and maybe even then some. Armstrong has had a hell of a season to start the year. He's a great run defender. He's doing a great job as a pass rusher as well. He's taken his game to a whole nother level, and he deserves all the credit in the world for that. Also, just in general, the defensive line looked phenomenal today yet again. Then another game ball here. Final one of the day goes to Jerzon Newton. And Newton, maybe not the fastest start to this season. He's not a full-time starter in this defense in his second year as a second-round pick. That's a little bit disappointing. But, he was affecting the pocket more than once today, and then he had that very, very critical PBU, tip pass, at the goal line that ends up going right into the hands of Mike Samerstrill, another second-year player, by the way, to prevent the Chargers from cutting it to a 1-score lead there in the fourth quarter. That was the play of the game to me in this football game, and to see Jerzon Newton also get a sack, also get a TFL. He played his butt off today. He deserves a game ball from me. So who's your MVP? Let me know down there in the comment section. Who was today's MVP for the Washington Commanders? Was it Jaden Daniels? Was it Bill Croskey-Merritt? Was it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. For me, today's MVP goes to Bill. This will be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a second. I'm going to tell you about a great deal that you guys can take advantage of right now. But before we get into that, go down there in the comment section and let me know who is today's Commanders MVP. And if you guys want this Commanders hat, 25% off. Today only, you guys can get a fantastic deal. Right now, when you go chatsports.com/Washington Week 5, otherwise known as WAS Week 5, I'm going to put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show. And if you guys use code ACORN, you guys can get 25% off this Commanders hat today. I love the look here. You got the khaki kind of color on there. I think it makes the red and the yellow really pop here. It's kind of that retro look as well that I really appreciate. So I picked this hat out specifically for you guys to get a fantastic deal on here with our friends. So you guys can use code ACORN at checkout for 25% off when you use code ACORN and you use our link, chatsports.com/WAS Week 5. All right, so now let's get to the takeaways. And I already alluded to it in the game ball section, but it's good to have Jaden Daniels back. All right, like I appreciate Marcus Mariota for what he is. I think that he's a really good backup quarterback. He might even be a top 35 QB in the game today. But he's not Jaden Daniels, man. Jaden, just some of the plays that he can make with his legs, his pocket presence, his ability to find those open spaces and make plays happen out of structure. It's why this team was able to move on to the NFC Championship game last year, and it's the reason why this team I would consider to be, not only a playoff contender but potentially a Super Bowl contender once we get to January, because he is that good of a quarterback. Fantastic stuff from Jaden. Couldn't be happier that he's back in the fold. Then, in my opinion, guys, Bill Croskey-Merritt has arrived. I think that he has really written his name in the stars here, playing in the city of stars in Los Angeles this afternoon. I mean, the efficiency that he played with, the explosiveness that he played with today, his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. Like, he is a complete number one running back in this league. He proved that today against a good defense. And, of course, kudos to the offensive line. They blocked their butts off today. I thought the usage of 12 and 13 personnel, so 2 and 3 tight end sets from Cliff Kingsbury, was really good. Those tight ends blocked really well for this team today as well. But Bill was the one that really exploited that, used good vision, explosiveness, explosive cuts, and he deserves all the credit in the world for the fantastic start to his young NFL career. Then, unfortunately, guys, I do think it's time to cut bait with Chris Moore. He dropped another pass today. This time it would have been a touchdown. If that was Terry McLaurin out there, I could have guaranteed you he would have caught that football. So this is another drop from Chris Moore. And you got a guy, a UDFA out of Louisville, and Ja'Cory Brooks, who had a really good preseason that didn't have these drop issues in the preseason, just waiting on your practice squad. And you also have Robbie Chosen, I should say. If I'm the Commanders, I'm cutting Chris Moore. It sounds like you're going to be getting Terry McLaurin back anyways here soon. I just don't really see any reason to keep Chris Moore on the roster, frankly. I think it's time to let him go and wish him the best of luck elsewhere. But then moving on to the defensive side of the ball, got to tip your cap to Joe Witt Jr. And you can tell Dan Quinn challenged him to get more creative on defense this week. They played a lot more zone coverage, which kept the lid on things, but also allowed the defense to stay on the field for longer, giving them more opportunities to get to Justin Herbert. And that's what they certainly did. This pass rush was after Herbert all day long. They sent very creative blitzes. They made you look one way, and then they brought pressure from another direction. This was the blitz package and looks that I'm used to seeing from Joe Witt Jr., who I do think is a good defensive coordinator. I think he has kind of gotten into a funk over the last few weeks when this team and this defense hasn't looked quite as good. Today it looked a lot different. Kudos to him. They were after Herbert all day long. Now, we just got through the first half of our takeaways here. We still got 4 more takeaways that I got for you guys here as we prepare for Chicago next week. But make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to celebrate this Week 5 victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. And with that, let's finish out our takeaways list here, starting with the fact that we are a blitzing team right now, guys. All right, and I think because of the issues that we have seen in the backfield and in the secondary for the Commanders, the missed tackles and the poor coverage and all this different stuff, the way the Commanders can win on defense is the same way they won on defense last year when this defense was rolling, which was they put pressure on the quarterback and they blitzed the hell out of quarterbacks, all right? And they got creative with their blitzes and they dropped people into coverage and, they made quarterbacks think. And, you had arguably the worst secondary in the league last year, and you were able to make it to the NFC Championship game. And unfortunately, at least at this point in the season, it doesn't look like you've necessarily fixed that problem. Mike Sainristil has still had some issues in coverage. Marshawn Lattimore looked better today. I will give him credit for that, but certainly hasn't been great. Quan Martins has had some issues. If they're going to continue to roll with Jeremy Reeves, that's going to be, if he keeps missing tackles, that's going to be something that this team needs to contend with. I think Trey Amos has been really good through the first 5 weeks of the year. But, I think the way that this Commanders team can be successful, like I said, is the same way they were successful at times last year, which is confuse the hell out of quarterbacks, do some really creative stuff up front, and then allow this defensive front to win, put pressure on quarterbacks, and win that way. So that's the type of defense that this team needs to be moving forward. Then I think it's time to get a real strong safety, guys. I appreciate Jeremy Reeves. I think he made some good individual plays in this game, but there's certainly moments where he is lapsing in coverage. There are certainly moments where he is missing tackles that he should make. Sometimes he's so aggressive to get his guy and towards his angle that he just takes a bad angle to the football and he just straight up misses, and it leads to a big play. I'm sure this team loves Jeremy Reeves. I love Jeremy Reeves. He's a great guy, great locker room dude, works his tail off. He's somebody that deserves an opportunity, and he's had an opportunity these last 2 weeks, but you got a guy in C.J. Gardner-Johnson in free agency just waiting for someone to pick him up. I think the Commanders are the perfect team to pick up a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a versatile weapon like that. This team needs help in the secondary, and at this point I think, C.J. Gardner-Johnson can provide that and provide something to this defense that Jeremy Reeves isn't right now. But, hey, I said in my preview this week, use Jordan McGee more, and that's exactly what they did. They put him out there. Maybe not as much as maybe I would like. They still had Bobby Wagner out there quite a bit on third down situations, but they used McGee out there, and they put Frankie Louvu out there at edge in their NASCAR packages, and they blitzed McGee quite a bit today, actually. So he was very disruptive today. Shout out to Jordan McGee for making his usual impact on special teams, but also on the defensive side of the ball. I think today was probably by far the most they played him in any other game so far this year. He balled out. He deserves credit for that. Shout out to him. I probably should have given him a game ball. Darn it, I should have given him a game ball, but hey, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, so now my final takeaway here, guys, is that it was nice to have some timely defense, all right? Now, there were times where the Commanders were giving up big yardage, and either, A, they got a turnover to kind of negate that, or B, the Chargers would have penalties that would negate that. So I do think the Commanders' defense at times certainly got lucky. They gave up some really big plays that didn't count because of penalties and eventually turnovers. But they came up big when they needed to come up big, right? At the end of the first half, for example, it was a 2nd down and 7. You have an opportunity to get the football back and try and get a field goal before halftime. You get a big sack on 2nd down and 7 with a beautifully designed blitz look from Joe Witt Jr., able to call timeout. It's 3rd and long. They run the ball because they're not going to pick up a first down. You call another timeout. You have an opportunity to go and score. And then, of course, after the roughing the kicker penalty, that ends up giving the Commanders a shot to be able to go down and tie the game at half. Like, that's really good, timely football. And then for Jazon Newton, when it's 2nd down and goal or whatever it was there at the goal line with the Chargers having a shot to make it a 1-score ball game, to tip that ball. And then for Frozone, Mike Samerstroll to see that pass and to see that deflection still come down with the football. It's just really good, timely defense. This team really hasn't really had that to start this season off. But, at the end of the day, guys, I think that, this defense is certainly not perfect. It certainly has its issues just like it did last season. But they came up big today, and I hope that they can continue to make those big plays and big moments down the stretch. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Grade today's performance from the Commanders, A, B, C, D, or F. I'll give them a B+. It's a win. It feels really good to win by 3 scores. But there are certainly some things to work out and some things to work on in this football game that I hope that this team continues to work out and iron out as the weeks go on. Just some final thoughts here before I wrap up here, guys. Over the next month or so before we get to the trade deadline in the NFL, the Commanders certainly have a stretch of games here that they need to take advantage of. They've got the Chicago Bears coming up here. I think that's going to be a big game to go out and win, get to 4-2, because you got Dak Prescott and that high-flying Cowboys offense the following week on the road. Then you got Kansas City on the road. Then you've got a tough Seattle team at home. And you have a pretty decently difficult schedule coming up. So next week, as we look forward to Chicago, a team that this Commanders team should win against, all right? If you come together with a good game plan like you did today, you confuse Caleb Williams, you force him into some mistakes, you play some timely football, and then on offense, you can move the ball as effectively as you did today. You're at home, you have ample time to prepare. There's no reason why the Washington Commanders can't and shouldn't be 4-2 by the time that we get to the Chicago game next Monday night. So really feel good about this team. And honestly, guys, and this will be a final point here, I think this Commanders team is set up to be even better than it was last year, all right? Very similarly set up defense this year, only I think that the secondary has more potential than it had last year. There's more potential to turn things around, and then the pass rush is even better than what it was last season. I think that the offense has an even better run game than we had last year. Once you get Terry McLaurin back into the fold, hopefully the passing game can truly get back to where it's supposed to be. And I just have a good feeling about this Washington Commander team right now. We're sitting at 3-2, have a great opportunity to get to 4-2 next week, and we're going to be covering everything that you need to know about Week 6 right here on the Commanders Report as we prepare for Monday Night Football. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's going to be it for this week's watch party here, or for this week's post-game show, I should say, here on the Commanders Report. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.